Oh my goodness. I am so excited to share our chat today with Miss Tracey Hughes. It has been a long time coming. I always I would go back and forth as to whether or not to ask you to come on the show or not, because I was like, oh, I would get shy, and then I was like, and then I had a moment, and I was like, I'm just gonna do it, and then you
I'm
said
glad
yes,
you did.
me too. So you're here. So just in case anybody doesn't know, can you please introduce yourself?
Of course. Look, I'm so excited to be chatting with you today, Christine, as well. And obviously, congratulations on your success. These podcasts are amazing. I love the authenticity around them. So well done. And hello to all your audience as well. It's great to connect with your community. So, as Christine's introduced me, I'm Tracey Hughes. I'm currently the Global General Manager for Exo Grow by Dermapen World. I am a hairdresser, very proud to be a hairdresser. Been in the industry for about, I think 35 years now. And I was born and raised and did my apprenticeship in England. Then I moved to Australia when I was pretty young and built my first business in Australia as well. I was a salon owner for about 18 years.
Mm.
I was a guest artist for a company. Then I created my own education brands as well, my personally branded education, took that and expanded it globally, became a keynote speaker. Along that journey, I guess I built my profile a little bit with just a few awards and media coverage, etc. as well. And then when I sold the salons, I stepped into the corporate world and went into obviously leadership for education, brand development, team development, and worked my way to obviously leadership role. And
Mhm.
I'm very proud to be one of the very few global general managers that are female that are
Mm.
hairdressers in this industry. So
I
that's a bit about me.
I love all of those things. I love I think the first time that I saw you and I got a taste of what Tracy's all about was it was in Orlando several years
Yep.
ago. It was the leading ladies, and
Uh,
you were there with Eden Sassoon, Sonia, she was there, Candy, I think she was there, and I was like, oh my goodness, who is this fabulous woman? Like I just loved your story because you were just
oh,
so vulnerable, and but you are and like a boss babe. Like hello, like you're in corporate now. Like that's amazing. Like anyway, I just had to share that.
thank you. Now, look, I must admit, I would say a lot of people say to me, what's been your proudest moment in your career?
Mm.
And they expect me to say, either the business success or the awards, like I've been inducted into the Hall of Fame. People think that's a pretty big deal. But for me, to be honest, my biggest success was leading ladies. As the founder of a not for profit, to be able to give back to the industry that is over 85% women behind the chair was
Mm.
so liberating to do that. And at the time when we did it, it was when the industry really needed to come together
Yeah.
as well. And obviously, I had this initial idea around leading ladies and what the concept was going to be. And I pitched it to Premier Orlando as our very first event that we did. And I asked Candy Shaw, Sonia Dove, Eden Sassoon, and Jenny Strebe to be on the panel. And I asked Sam Villa to be our amazing token male MC. Of course, who doesn't love a bit of Sam? And
Yeah.
we did our first event in Orlando to inside that huge auditorium with
Mm-hmm.
seats 2,500 people, absolutely jam packed. I
Mm-hmm.
specifically remember spending 3 hours afterwards, literally at the step and repeat, hugging, laughing,
Oh,
crying with everyone that attended. Literally, we could not get away from there. And the success was so
wow.
overwhelming because what we did is we took down the barriers. We made it real, authentic. Yes, we shared business advice. Yes, we shared career advice, but we also shared a lot of the challenges that all of
Mm-hmm.
us women face in this industry and what we've gone through, because ultimately we just want to help inspire other people to be the best version of themselves.
Yes.
That is the whole objective of leading ladies. And after that very first one, Christine, that you attended in Orlando, we ended up taking that nationally across all of North America, so all across the States and Canada as well. So it was
Oh my
incredible.
goodness.
So I'm exceptionally proud because I ended up with about 22 women from memory that were on different panels, and we ended up with about three different male MCs as well in each different location. And the messages, the stories that were shared were just mind blowing, incredible, inspirational, heartfelt. And
Mm,
certainly, great advice for anyone that joined us. And everyone contributed their time freely. No one got paid. I
see,
contributed my time freely to do all the production aspects of it, all the marketing aspects of it myself, because it was purely a not-for-profit to be able to give back to the industry. And that warms your heart.
it
It's nice
does.
service. Yeah.
Yes, it does. When you are passionate about something, I feel it's so much easier to like tell the world about it because you have
Yeah.
that fire and you're just like, everybody needs to know this. Like, hello. Anyway, I loved it. It was one of my favorite shows to have been a part of, to see you guys at Leading Ladies. With
Grateful that you were
that,
there. Thank you.
you're very welcome. Absolutely. Um, what we're just gonna rip it off like a band-aid. What has been your biggest failure in professionally or personally? And how did you overcome that?
Oh, that's a very big question. I love that. I love that you ask these challenging questions and you go deep right away.
Right away.
I would probably say I don't believe in the word failure, first off, because I believe everything is a learning journey.
Hmm.
So I just want to make that really super clear. There's definitely been some lack of judgment decisions, I would say, and I'll perhaps share my biggest challenging one that I've gone through. But
Yeah.
I say don't see it as a failure because I learned from the opportunity and I grew from the situation. But when I was a salon owner, I had my salons, I had a couple of salons in Australia that were very well established. I built those salons from scratch as a little young backpacker that went to Australia on her own with no family, no partner. I wasn't married at the time, no
What?
money,
Okay.
and started a new life in a new country. And I opened my salon and I built my salons, I can say very proudly after 18 years, to 33% net profit, which is pretty unheard of in our industry,
Yes. Oh,
and also to win Salon of the Year 10 years in a row.
oh my goodness, I have chills right now. Wow.
Yeah, so it was a very, very successful business. And obviously, it was a very well known brand as well. And I literally, I built it was my baby, so to speak.
Hmm.
And I was approached by a company that was doing a consolidation. What they wanted to do was create like a super group to consolidate and take to the Australian Stock Exchange to become the first publicly listed hairdressing company on the stock exchange. So they approached me because of my profile and also the media contacts that I had. So they knew I could help get the exposure out to the consumer as
Mm.
well. And also, they knew my capability around building an education system to be able to scale for a group of that size as well. And so when they first approached me, I wasn't interested, to be honest, Christine, because my business was doing really well.
Yeah.
Um, I don't really need to be part of this group. And,
Yeah.
I don't want to sell my salons at all.
Yeah.
And, yes, I kind of see the potential of driving consumer awareness by being a publicly listed company. I saw that as being highly advantageous. I also saw the benefits of being able to create an education system that could really elevate that craftsmanship outside of a traditional beauty school environment, to support the next generation of hairdressers coming through as well. So I did see a lot of advantages. And I also saw that it gave people an opportunity to have an exit strategy for those who hadn't thought about that before,
Yeah.
if they had perhaps thought of selling their business and moving on to something else. So I did see that the concept in theory was really good. But obviously, at the time, I also had shareholders as managers running my salons as well. And I was flying around the world doing my education. So life was great. I
Hmm.
was feeling my sense of purpose through teaching. I was obviously making money from my salons. And I had an incredible team culture within my business that I was super proud of. But they made it sound very exciting and they sold the dream a little bit too
Hmm.
much to me. And this is where the lesson came in. I probably didn't trust my instincts around the people
Mm.
enough. And what happened was basically I did decide to join the group, and I said, I'll join and I'll sit on the board of directors. I became COO of the group. So sat on the board of directors and said, I won't officially sell the salons until after I've sat on the board for 6 months. I can see the forecasting, the trajectory of where the business is going to go, and the potential of becoming the first publicly listed hairdressing company on the ASX. So I sat on the board and got to know them all first, and most of them were not industry people. So they were M&A, mergers and acquisitions. So investors, lawyers, accountants, etc. They probably just didn't have the comprehension of the human element that is so unique to the beauty industry. So unique.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
that was probably what was missing. So obviously, I kind of brought that knowledge of the industry scope to the organization. So eventually I said, okay, after 6 months, yeah, this is a good decision. I'm going to do this. I can see, this is going to be good for the industry more than anything.
Mhm.
And so I sold my salons into the group as well. And my goal was to grow my salon brand further, because we obviously would have the capital to be able to do that, which
Yeah.
I personally didn't have the capital to grow further than what I already had at that stage.
Mhm.
6 weeks after settlement of selling my salons into the group,
Oh my God. I'm so nervous.
they made me redundant
Oh,
and basically took my salons. So
so
I
so they
was,
didn't even need you then. So they just took
um,
it and you're like, okay, great.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, literally. It was, I mean, it was kind of like a brand grab in some aspects, but also the CEO probably wasn't performing as well, and the investors were putting pressure on him. So he kind of hung me out to dry,
of
I guess,
course.
as well. Thinking my business was so systemized and so well ran that it would still survive without me because it was so profitable. But of course, it destroyed my team. And that hurt me. It hurt my team, and obviously ripped apart the culture that I'd spent 18 years building. So if I had an instinct on the day of settlement, which is crazy because I remember sitting outside the office in tears going, I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't
Mm-hmm.
believe I'm doing this. And I should have trusted my instincts there and then. And I didn't. And so I went with it. And so when they made me redundant, obviously all of a sudden I didn't have my business after 18 years of building that from scratch. I didn't have any income.
Oh my
I
Lord.
couldn't pay my mortgage. I had my education company, but my education company was very much about giving back. So it
Yeah.
broke even, but it wasn't profitable. It was never, that was, I say, to fuel my sense of purpose, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily to, be a cash cow. The salons was what made me money, was obviously what kept food on the table, the roof over your head, etc. And I say I'm proud of what I built with that business as well.
Yeah.
So, of course, when I lost that business and I lost that income stream, my husband had just opened a new business at the time as well.
Mm-hmm.
We just invested a lot of money in his business. And so, obviously, he didn't have any income coming in with it being a new business at the time. So, we lost our house as well as
Mm.
our business. And believe it or not, the good that came out of this was that's what made me did make the decision to do my second migration and move over to America. So obviously I'm in America. We're talking right now, Christine. So I'm back in LA with
Yeah.
the um,
Thank you.
so
That was one of my questions. I was like, where are you?
at the moment, I'm currently based in LA. I'm here for 3 months as we're launching Exo Grow across the US.
Okay.
But this was 10 years, this was about 10 to 12 years ago. I can't remember the exact year, but I made that decision to move over to the States because my education company was very well established.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I had the connections. I'm very well connected in the industry. I did have the profile, so I could leverage all that. And basically I turned around my education business to be profitable within 12 months. So I know how to run a
Girl.
wow. And I literally had to hustle,
Yeah. Yes, 100%.
hustle because we had, both of us had no income coming in. So, and obviously we basically packed up our life, moved to another country again for the second time. At least I had a husband and a dog, and my dog at the time to keep me company on the second time round. But yeah, look, and that's where Leading Ladies actually came out of this as well, because I needed to heal. I wanted to heal my own heart, but also I needed to, I guess, get a little bit more exposure. So it was very much a strategic decision. And by
Hmm.
choosing to do it not for profit and to give back, that helped to heal my heart. It kept the reassurance that I wanted to stay in this incredible industry and not just give up because I'd been burnt by bad
Mm.
people. And I chose not to become a bitter, twisted person because of it either. I chose not to carry the anger and the resentment and the pain and the hurt from it. I went, okay, I'm going to live more with gratitude. And ever since then, every day, I try and live my life with as much gratitude as possible. I
Oh.
believe I became a better keynote speaker
Mhm.
because I guess best way I can put it, my skin was ripped off me and I
One,
was
yeah.
so raw and so open that I didn't feel I had to be as polished and professional as a speaker and as an educator as much. I could be real. I could connect with my audience and with my attendees and just in general in life. I just felt better connections with people because I was like, okay, I've had a huge lesson in business that I never thought I would have to go through. And
Yeah.
I never thought, at that stage in my life, at that age as well, that I would lose everything overnight and have to start a new life again, a new business again in another country again. And I tell you what, I'm going to say, hand on heart, I've
Yeah.
got a lot of resilience and I'm damn proud.
I love that.
Because now I can look back and go, I learned a lot from that. And I tell you what, I trust my instincts on people so much ever since.
Mm.
So ultimately, I don't see that as a failure.
No. I mean, losing your house, losing your business, losing essentially your country in a way, like they totally like betrayed you, like that's. But if none of that happened, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
True.
You know what I mean? So it's like
Like,
these things happen and it's so detrimental at the time. Okay, so I'm a salon owner as well. And
yeah,
then, this is happening to you. And my thing is, was your team, were they just upset at you? Like, were they angry with you for like, oh, why didn't she know? She should have known this. Now, we're done. Like, or were
yeah.
they, how did that go with
That was
them?
the hardest part. That was the real hardest part. Yes. My team were very loyal. And as I say, I'd built an incredible culture that was very
Hmm.
much focused all around education.
Hmm.
But naturally, of course, yes, the team did blame me, thinking, "Well, you sold," and I get that. But
Hmm.
obviously, they don't know the situation of what happens because also when I sold into the group, I didn't take the cash for the sale of the business. I took it in shares.
Mm.
Sitting on the board of directors, I knew the share value of what that would be. I didn't make any money from the sale of the business. I
Mm.
made, I took a 20% of the sale to pay capital gains tax and to pay my two managers as a shareholder. The other
Wow.
80% I took in shares, which was obviously, as the COO of the company, was a smart decision to do. But after this happened to me, the company went bust and they
Mm.
went into liquidation because everyone in the industry in Australia, I guess, kind of knows me. So when it got out there that, Trace had kind of been screwed over a little bit, people were scared to be part of this organization. And a lot of people that were going to sell pulled out of that pipeline. And so the company couldn't sustain itself and it went into liquidation. And
Oh.
so I lost my shares. So I didn't even see a single dollar for the sale of the business because if I did, I would have been able to keep my house. And my team don't know this. And they
Right.
never know that at the time. And they had their own judgment around what happened. I heard stories from other people that I'd been paid a couple of $1 million for my salons. And, I wish I had because they were certainly worth it.
Right. You can
But
say, really? Where was that? I missed
uh-huh,
that. I missed that
yeah,
check.
I missed that memo. Where did that come from? I certainly didn't see that check. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, it broke my heart that it hurt my team
Yeah.
because you're a salon owner, you invest so much time and energy into your team. And I believed I was close to my team. And for it to affect them was the hardest part that hurt me obviously greatly. And, I tried to obviously explain the situation the best that I could. But at the end of the day, they've not been in my shoes as a business owner. So I
Right.
wouldn't expect them to have that true comprehension of what I
Mm.
was going through. And that's not their responsibility either. I had the responsibility of employing them. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I take accountability for what happened to them as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you went, so from England to, okay, wait, you went to school in England, but then you moved to Australia to just start?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, basically, I did my apprenticeship in England.
Okay.
So I was a qualified hairdresser, obviously, when I went to Australia, and I was 21 years old when I went on my own. And I took a 1 year visa, as a lot of English people choose to go to Australia. And to be honest, I actually didn't even know anything about Australia. After living there for 35 years, it's my home now.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, I just woke up one day and went, I just need to go somewhere different. I need to do something with my life. I come from, excuse me, a typically poor working class background. So I knew that there could be more to life than this town I was born
Yeah.
and brought up in the north of England. And
Mm.
it was a hard decision to leave my family so young, but I was naive as well. You've got youth on your side, and I was reckless and impulsive. And to be honest, even now, 55 years old, I'm still reckless and impulsive. That has never gone. And look, I love the fact that I'm a bit reckless and impulsive because life is too short. You
Yeah.
have to take risks, but they just need to be calculated risks and you need to think it through. But at the same time, that instinct on everything, and I must have, trusted my instincts back then when I was 21 to go to Australia and go,
Yeah.
this is going to be an incredible experience. And I just fell in love with the country. It's beautiful. And I fell in love with the people. And I saw so much potential in the industry there as well because it's smaller, it's close knit, the quality of work is great. And I've obviously been very blessed. I've built some beautiful relationships over the years being living there as well. So yeah, I'm
Mm.
grateful. They always say Australia is the land of opportunity.
I
And
love it. Oh,
uh,
100%.
I really
Absolutely.
believe that. Yeah, it's a
Oh,
very unique country.
so you're 21 years old. Did
Yeah.
you like get into like a business school? Like, how did you from 21 to like the stock market? Like, whoa, like, did you get education in order to lead a team that way? Or it just came naturally to you?
Oh, look, that's a bit of both. How can I put
Okay.
it? Both, definitely. So, look,
Okay.
I think I was always quite astute naturally.
Okay.
I think over the years I've developed a lot of emotional intelligence, but
Mm.
obviously at that age, when you're that young, you don't necessarily have that emotional intelligence. But I had a bit of intellect naturally. So
Okay.
I've always had a very deep desire of learning and growth. And my mindset's always been in that direction, no, regardless of what age I've been. So opening a business, so I was 21 when I moved there and I was 27 when I opened my business.
Mm.
So I was still pretty young.
Yeah.
And I obviously had a lot of faith in my own ability and I knew I was a damn good hairdresser. So I had that confidence. So I knew I could build a clientele easily, but obviously I started from scratch with no money as well. So there was no resource behind me. There was nothing. If I didn't make enough money each week to pay the rent on the salon space, to pay the staff's wages, to pay, my color provider, to pay my landlord, etc.,
Mhm.
and to put food on my own table, if I didn't make enough money, then I knew I'd starve. And people,
Mm.
it's tough starting a new business from scratch. I
Yeah.
didn't buy an existing business like other people do. I wanted to create my own brands.
Mm.
I was savvy with the branding side and the marketing side of things, and I got a publicist pretty early on. I also entered awards early on, and that obviously this was the days before social media.
Yeah.
I leveraged old school press, and every time we won an award, next thing you know, bang, it was plastered across every newspaper. I was doing TV interviews, the whole lot.
Love
So
it.
it helped build the business pretty quickly. But from the financial aspect, I also learned from my accountants. Obviously, I brought an accountant in and I'd sit there and I'd want to learn, even though I don't like the numbers. And I actually still don't like doing the numbers, which is crazy when I'm a global GM.
Yeah.
I still don't like doing the numbers, but I learned it. I learned how to understand, a profit and loss statements, my balance sheet. I learned the numbers. I learned how to do the logistical and operational side of a business as well. So I just made sure I absorbed from people around me. I
Mm.
learned more about the PR and the marketing side from my publicist. So, I was still operating like a small business, but I was learning. And I
Yeah.
guess from a cultural perspective and the team management, I learned, through trial and error. I learned from my team, with my team, and together as a team
Mm.
as well. So I learned to listen to what they needed, what they wanted. Did I always get it right? No, of course not. No one ever does, because
Mm.
it's about human connection. I was
Right.
tough. I was a tough boss. And the only reason I was tough is because I wanted the best for them. I wanted to bring out the best in them. But I've softened over the years
Mm.
and realized I was probably maybe a bit too tough. But that's only because I believed in craftsmanship. I
Yeah.
believed in high standards and quality of work, and I didn't want to compromise on that.
Hmm.
So, look, I never went to business school. No, I don't have a business degree. No, which most people in corporate do, and especially
Hmm.
GMs and leaders, they've all generally come from, a background of going to uni with a degree, growing up through corporate. For me, when I stepped into corporate, it was a case of I'd come from small business mentality. I was an entrepreneur naturally. And I only was able, I guess, to be able to go straight into director level roles. I didn't have to climb the ladder because I had the profile and the
Mm.
connections to be able to do that. And it was sink or swim. I had to learn quickly how corporate operated, but really it's just scalability. It's no different than small business. The
Hmm.
only difference is small business can be more agile, can be more flexible, can be more responsive, quicker. Corporate tends to be very slow.
Mm.
And sometimes you've got to have a meeting about a meeting to get to a decision. And so I guess my learnings there was more scalability and how can I make things on a bigger scale. And I've learned that really well by working with some incredible people in the corporate space as well. And now, obviously, with my current position, which I'm exceptionally grateful to have because I absolutely love the team of people that I work with. I don't see this as work, and I don't see this that I'm an employee. I see that I have a lot of autonomy, a lot of freedom
Good.
to be able to have vision. So the
Yeah.
company has very much got an entrepreneurial spirit. The founders are incredible, very much true visionaries, true entrepreneurs, and I work very closely with them
Mm.
as well. And to me, this is a very unique company that I'm part of now as well. So I'm very grateful for this.
Dermaplan World.
Dermapen,
Dermapen.
Dermapen World. So Dermapen World, just to give you a little insight, is the
Yeah.
number one microneedling company worldwide.
I'm so excited. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I was looking them up just before, and I'm all about red light therapy. I got my mom
Yes.
hooked on red light therapy. Like everybody has red light. And then it
Yeah.
was microderm, and I'm just like, oh, this is so
We need to
great.
get you onto some microneedling then as well if you're loving LED.
Yeah.
We're in 107 countries worldwide. And we launched ExoGrow last year. And
Uh-huh.
the reason I'm currently in the US at the moment, I've actually left my husband and my dogs right now to be in the US for 3 months,
Okay.
build our US team here, and to launch across the States and Canada as
Oh,
well. So we launched ExoGrow globally a year ago, and it's a brand new technology for hair loss. And this is a conversation that stylists are having every day behind the chair. The
yeah.
conversation generally around hair loss, always from a consumer perspective, begins with their stylist.
Hmm.
And then obviously the stylist usually will give them what advice they have, depending on their depth of knowledge of science and trichology, etc. And a lot of
Hmm.
stylists may not have that knowledge. So they tend to recommend them to a clinic,
Yeah.
to a trichologist or a dermatologist or a doctor, etc. And we've got phenomenal network across those 107 countries in the medical space. But
Mm.
we're brand new to the hair and beauty industry, brand new. So obviously that's why we're launching at the moment. We actually
Right.
just did an incredible road show across the states where we did events in Chicago, Atlanta, LA, Dallas, Miami, and we had amazing attendees. The events were brilliant. And obviously, I'm going to be doing the trade shows that we've got coming up over the next couple of months as well.
Yeah. Will you be in
Uh,
Orlando?
I will be, yes.
Okay, good. I'll see you
Definitely. So
there.
we certainly will. So next week I've got ABS in Chicago. I've
Yeah.
also got Data Driven Salon Summer, Intercoiffure, Premier Orlando. So I'm doing all these events while I'm here as well. And
Yeah.
obviously we just want to share what this new technology is. So it's exosome technology, and we've got the patent on that technology worldwide. So we are literally the only brand that are performance driven. We've taken away all the marketing fluff. I made
Hmm.
that decision that I wanted this brand to be positioned as aspirational to hairdressers. Like,
Hmm.
I shot a beautiful campaign. I love doing photo shoots. Shot a beautiful campaign. The hair's wearable, not trend driven, beautiful, timeless. You can check out the imagery.
Yeah.
And I want that to be aspirational to hairdressers, but more importantly to consumers, to clients. So they can go, I want beautiful hair like that. Because
Hmm.
when you start to see your hair thinning, it's so deeply emotional. It
Yeah.
can affect confidence so much. So I came up with the tagline of "You will believe."
Oh.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
it.
that's
That's our
it. That's
marketing message. That's it. No fluff,
it.
no
No.
hype.
Right
You
to
will.
the heart, right to the heart, straight to the
Yeah,
point. It's my
yeah,
favorite. Keeping it simple. Oh, I love that. Okay,
yeah. So if
so
people want to know more about our technology, I'm not here
yes.
to obviously share an education lesson today, but obviously I'm very passionate about it because for me, this is aligning with my own sense of purpose of helping people with empowerment. And of course, if you're helping people that are losing their hair, gain that back. And look, it could be numerous reasons. Yes, it could be hereditary. Yes, it could be alopecia. But also, it could be someone going through a cancer journey. It could be a
Yeah.
woman hitting perimenopause.
Yes.
Yep, exactly. It could be postpartum, obviously, when you go through pregnancy. It could be stress. And it could be even, obviously, at the moment, so many people have been on weight loss drugs as well, which doesn't necessarily cause the hair loss, but the lack of nutrition does
Yeah.
as well. So there's so many impacts and reasons why people may start to see the hair shedding, thinning, and dealing with hair loss. And I say it's very emotive. So we lead with the psychology of hair loss first,
Mm,
and we lead with the empathy. That's the difference in how we approach our relationships
yeah.
with our salon partners and our clients and our clinics from a global perspective. We lead with the empathy first from a psychology perspective. Then we lead with our technology because it's so revolutionary. We are pioneers. So we then support that with incredible education. And obviously, again, that aligns with me personally. And then the sales will come, like that's how we look at it. So we're
Exactly.
not here to sell a product. We're here to help people regain their confidence back.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. You have so much heart.
Thank
Do you
you.
know, like everything you're saying, it's like I'm just doing it so I can help people. I put a salon, so yeah, I wanted a brand, but I wanted to build up others. I'm doing this dermapen world because I want to help others. Like, oh my goodness, girl. Okay.
Thank you. Look, I think it is something, that comes with a little bit of maturity, obviously, is again,
Yeah.
that gratitude.
Yeah.
When you've gone through challenges in life, I think having gratitude is the most important thing that we can live with. Yes, I can be self-absorbed, and yes, I can be selfish. We're all
Yeah.
humans at the end of the day. And, I'm a very, very confident person. I will say that,
Hmm.
but I'm not egotistical. And I genuinely believe there's a difference. You've got to
Yeah.
have a certain level of egotism, I guess, to build a profile and put yourself out there, because when you're
Right.
out there, you're putting yourself in a situation where you can be judged by others. Whereas, to be honest, I actually don't care about being judged by anyone because I'm comfortable with myself.
Right.
And that's the difference. And that's all I guess I want to try and help. And that's why I want to help other people, because not everyone has that natural confidence.
Yeah.
It can
Yeah.
be grown, it can be developed. And at the end of the day, this is our life, not anyone else's. So it's totally
Exactly.
irrelevant what anyone else thinks. You
Exactly.
can't change someone else's judgment of you. You
It's
can't.
true. It's true. You're going to be what something that I've been saying and I've had to learn in the last several weeks is that you're going to be somebody's hero and somebody's villain in
That's
everybody's story,
that. Nice. Yeah, totally.
and you got to just keep going. You got to do the work for yourself so you don't totally lose confidence and lose yourself, but you keep zoned in on what you're going for.
Exactly. Because look, we all need to have goals. We all need to have
Yeah.
things to strive for. But, you'll reach the goals if you stay present in the moment rather than
Mhm.
necessarily just looking at the bigger picture of the future, because you don't know what the future holds. It hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So you do need to stay present as well. But again, that judgmental aspect, it's in our human DNA.
Yeah.
And we will all form an opinion of each other. And we're not necessarily here to be liked, but if we are liked and if we are loved,
Hmm.
then that's truly special. And you just got to surround yourself with people who've got the right mindset that you will engage with.
Hmm.
And live a simple life. Put your family first, put your health first. And then obviously business is super important, especially when you're self-motivated, as a case what I am and what you are.
Yeah.
You know,
It's a
we,
bit of
we
a
are
problem sometimes, but
yeah,
yes.
we're very high energy and we're very motivated. But if you haven't got your family and you haven't got your health, more importantly, I've lived with a health challenge my entire life. I'm
Can you
epileptic.
can you share? Yes. Okay, you just said it. Yeah. Can you share a little bit about that? Because that's, yeah, very
Yeah,
important
look,
to me.
I never spoke about my epilepsy, to be honest, until I started doing keynote speaking.
Hmm.
And it was again when I realized I needed to be a bit more raw and honest and authentic. And that once I spoke a couple of times about it, I realized that people found it inspirational, whereas I didn't. I was embarrassed
Yeah.
when I was young. I was 12 years old when I had my first seizure. And, I've lived with it my entire life. And when I have a seizure, I go completely unconscious.
Mm.
So there's different levels of epilepsy, different types of epilepsy, etc. But I do go completely unconscious and I have absolutely no control. And the thing that the thing that gets me the most is the fear.
Hmm.
That moment when I can feel that a
Hmm.
seizure is about to happen, that fear consumes me. And
Mm.
I have absolutely no control of that fear, that anxiety, because I know I'm about to go unconscious. And I also know that there's a possibility I may not regain consciousness again.
Hmm.
And when I do regain conscious, it's the feeling is I can't even explain it. I've never been able to explain what that feels like when you regain consciousness, because you don't know where you are, you don't know what's happening, and you're so ridiculously vulnerable. Um, you've got no control over your body either. So I'm going to be deeply personal right now, and
Yeah.
as I say, it's because I don't get embarrassed anymore. But
This is
you could
real
have
and raw. This is
this.
real and raw.
This is why I love you, Christine. So I could have diarrhea and vomit while I'm unconscious. And
Hmm.
so I've got to deal with the mess as
Hmm.
well. I've got to also deal with the exhaustion, because it's literally like I've gone to the gym for 24/7 for a whole week, and your muscles are completely depleted and my energy levels are huge naturally. And what it does for me emotionally, I after them, I go, I don't want to live through this again.
Hmm.
That's how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
It affects me so much, and that if I literally don't put my mindset and go, you've dealt with this before, you're breathing, you've
Mhm.
got through it, and you just need to sleep and recover. I'm married to an executive chef, so I just need good food. I'm spoiled, and
Love
he's
it.
incredible at looking after me. Obviously, when I have a seizure, he's my hero. So shout out to Simon.
We
Obviously,
love you, Simon.
do love you, Simon. So yeah, he's my hero. He takes care of me, and I just go right, get back on a plane. So my two greatest fears in life, and
Uh-huh.
I talk about this in my keynotes, my two greatest fears,
Yeah.
because we all have fear, and a
Yeah.
lot of it is fear of change. More than anything. And with, as you've heard just a little snippet of my life story, I
Hmm.
embrace change.
100%.
Yeah, totally. Right. Most people are scared of change. And if I
Yeah.
can leave everyone with a message today, it would be don't be scared of change. That's where the growth lies.
Yep.
That's where the energy and the excitement and truly living life comes from, is embracing change, because then you're out of your comfort zone and you grow so much. And travel has been the most incredible education I've ever had. I've been blessed to live in 3 countries. I've worked in over 40 different countries. being around so many different cultures, you understand we're all the same.
Yeah.
We all are innately the same. But my two greatest fears, one, standing on stage in front of thousands of people and having a seizure. I've kind of spent my life on stage in front of thousands of people. I've trained over 500,000 stylists.
And it hasn't happened. Thank God.
And no, exactly.
Exactly. Knocking on all the wood. Okay.
Uh-huh. It's never
Oh,
happened. My second fear is having a seizure on an aeroplane.
oh,
It's happened.
it has happened.
Unfortunately, that happened
No.
once. I was actually on the aeroplane on JFK runway, about to take off to fly to LAX when I felt it coming on. And I remember was putting my arm on the person next to me who I didn't know and just saying to them, "Excuse me, I need some help. I'm about to go unconscious." That's all
Mm,
I remember. And then obviously I
mm.
was unconscious on the plane. And
Well,
then
thank
obviously,
thank God it wasn't in the air.
oh yeah. So I mean, they were literally about to take off though, seriously.
Oh my
So apparently, I don't know. This is what I got told. They slammed on the brakes. They didn't take off. Uh,
God.
Because obviously that person next to me, I don't know what they did, but they would have obviously told the hosties, etc.
Yeah.
And so we didn't take off. We stayed on the runway, and then they had to wait and get me off the plane in an ambulance. And I was like, I don't need to go to hospital. Once I'd regained consciousness, I was like, I don't need to go to hospital. I've dealt with this. I don't need to go to hospital. Please just let me get on the next flight back to my husband.
Yeah.
And it was when I was living in the US. And I think, at the time, it's probably a lot of stress build up that brought that one on because we were very new over here. We
Mm,
established a new life over here as well. And obviously, stress, sleep deprivation doesn't help any person living with epilepsy anyway.
right.
But I face that fear now. I've conquered that one.
Great.
I kind of go, well, I've spent my life for, 35 years on a plane, so that's not going to change.
Well,
So,
well, let me tell you, when I first heard this story, from that moment up until today, I have been praying for you, girl. I'm like,
oh,
oh Lord, please, that this woman does not crash out.
oh,
Like for real. So there you go. There's that.
Oh, I love you for that. Thank you. And look, there's many times when I do share, either the story of the business or the story of the health, and I'm very open. And if the emotion hits me, and if that I know in leading ladies, there was a couple of times on those panel situations where the tears were there, the emotion was there, but also the beautiful thing of that was all of those other women had
Yeah.
incredible stories to share. We've all got a story to share. We can all help others be inspired by any stories. But I love like Eden Sassoon's story, obviously being the daughter of Vidal Sassoon and obviously dealing with addiction and suicide in her family. And she's a beautiful friend. Absolutely love her so much.
Mhm.
Listening to Candy Shaw, being brought up, grown up in the industry and also being dyslexic and swapping homework for haircuts when she
Yeah.
was at beauty school, etc. So, there's been so many incredible women, and that's just a couple of them that have been on that leading ladies panel. And if COVID hadn't have happened, that would have kept going. Leading ladies would have kept going. But obviously, COVID changed the landscape for all of us. It changed our life dramatically. And when we talk about embracing change, we moved back to Australia when COVID hit. We knew we had to make that decision to go back to Australia because my husband is Australian, even though I'm
Yeah.
Australian, and I
Right,
say I'm
right, right.
Australian. Obviously, I was born English,
Yeah.
but we made that decision to go home. We
Yeah.
also made the decision that we needed to be near our parents because both of our parents are getting older. And
Hmm.
my mum's on her own in Australia, and she only moved over to Australia, I think, about 16, 17 years ago when she retired.
Right.
Having my mum move from England to Australia, I'm responsible for her. And
Yeah.
so I didn't want her to be on her own anymore.
No.
And Simon's parents were getting older. So we made that decision to move back to Australia, obviously, when COVID hit.
Yeah.
And, but I'm blessed to be back here in America
Yeah,
again.
you are. Yeah, you are.
Oh,
All right. So we're gonna I'm gonna ask you this, and it's not to be a Debbie Downer, but it's just to kind of keep the real going. What has been your biggest insult that is your driver?
oh,
It could be
I
your biggest, it could be your most favorite, but either way.
biggest insult. I can't think of the biggest insult, to be honest, but I think maybe if I can link it into what we spoke about before about maybe being judged.
Mm,
Um, when people don't really know who you are,
yeah.
very easy to judge.
Yeah.
And I think that can be quite insulting.
Mm,
Uh, because if you are going to judge someone, take a moment to get to know who the real person is, not who the perception is.
right.
And perception's a big word.
Mm,
We can all make an assumption around who people are, and it can be a perception, but we don't really know anyone and we don't know what their journey is.
yep.
And it's not our place to judge them. And I think that can be very insulting. And I've definitely dealt with that a lot
Mm,
from a career perspective, not on a personal perspective, because I do keep them separate.
yeah.
But from a career perspective, I think I've definitely had to deal with that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we've all got hearts, and it doesn't matter how confident you are, you still take things personally.
Of course. We're human. Human,
Yeah,
whether at home or at work. So
exactly.
then what working with those CEOs and those lawyers and those doctors and all that you've been with in the corporate world, what is a lesson that you have learned in this industry that you wish they would understand?
Nice. I think get to know the psychology a little bit more of a hairstylist as well, because well, I don't know, we've got unique characters with such a unique industry. Like I've done, speaking engagements outside of our industry, and I tell you what, and there's been a few times, as you can imagine, where I've kind of gone, I think I'll go and do something else, but I never have. I'm still a hairdresser at heart, always will be. But for me, it's get to know the industry, because I feel like we're an industry that has to prove itself.
Hmm.
We've always battled because we're sometimes seen as just a hairdresser.
Yes. Yeah. It drives me nuts.
It's like there's no such thing as just anything for starters. And I've met some of the most incredible, beautiful human beings in my entire life through our industry. I've met some of the most phenomenal, successful people through our industry, intelligent people, heartfelt people. And but sometimes in a corporate world, I guess, we get caught up in the numbers. And it's
Yeah.
very easy to just keep looking at the bottom line. And, there's been one leader, and I'm not going to obviously say anything who there,
Mm-mm.
there has been actually two leaders I can think of that I've personally worked with and reported to, that one probably just had too much ego themselves, and just the ego was very consuming.
Mm.
So because that ego was there, it was hard for them to think about their team and the people that they worked with, because it was always self. And the other leader was just too much of a dictator, and obviously very highly driven, to be in, a top corporate leadership role, and very much focused on the bottom line. But again, the connection
Hmm.
team was not there as much. It wasn't as genuine. And I think when in the corporate world, when you're focusing on the bottom line, you still need to think, okay, there's always generally going to be someone that is going to be influencing decisions that are made, but it can be too ruthless.
Yeah.
It's so focused on business. Yes, a business has to make money, whether you're an individual freelance solo operator, or whether you're a salon owner, or whether you're a general manager, or whether you're a CEO. All that is irrelevant. You've still got to make money in a business, or that's what businesses are for.
Exactly.
But the reality is there's people behind the business. So don't be too dictative in a leadership style, and connect with your people, regardless of whether you've got one person in your team or whether you've got 10,000 people in your team, is completely irrelevant. Just have a connection. And yes, focus on the bottom line. But at the end of the day, it's not always worth the stress. It's,
Hmm.
I had money, I lost it all. And I
Right.
I don't care whether I have money now anymore or not. I'm happy if I can pay my mortgage and have a nice house to live in.
Yeah.
And I'm happy if I've got my husband and I together. I
Mm,
love my dogs more than anything because my husband and I were not able to have children.
mm.
So not being blessed to have kids, our fur babies are everything. And it's killing
There's
me being away from them right
they're
now.
so cute. The cutest Dalmatians on Instagram.
I know, exactly. It's crazy, because on my Instagram page, obviously I post predominantly about my work, but anytime I post about the doggies, because they're so handsome and I'm biased naturally, but they are very, very handsome, spotty Dalmatians. They're beautiful looking. Did you know one's American and one's Australian?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. One's American, one's Australian. So there you go. But I get more engagement on my Instagram page about my dogs than I do about anything else.
I
And
believe it.
yeah, and I set up their own Instagram page, but the reality is I don't have the time and energy to be driving their page as much. So they haven't got much of a following like mummy has. So they're always like, Mummy, you're not looking after our Instagram page.
Yeah, I have a little beagle and I'm always like I should make a page, but I feel the same.
Yeah.
It is exhausting.
It takes a lot of work. I've got to drive, my own page. I'm driving the Exo Grow page, and obviously I'm collaborating with so many of our community and helping them with all the collaborations that we do from a social media perspective as well. So, yeah, look, it's not easy, and obviously, as much as I'm very digitally savvy and I'm across social, and I actually love social media, I still wasn't brought up with it in my generation.
Right. Right.
So there are times it can feel like a chore, definitely. And I
Yeah.
think if you're brought up with it, sometimes it'll still feel like a chore because it's time consuming.
It is totally time consuming. It
Yeah.
is another job for sure.
Yeah.
So what's a common myth? We'll wrap it up with this one, but what is a common myth of what it is that you do?
A common myth. Yeah, look, again, just a hairdresser that we just
Oh,
play with hair. I think that's what it is more than anything, because if I meet people, I don't go and say to them, I'm a global GM. I meet someone for the first time, I go, I'm a hairdresser. And I don't work behind the chair. I don't do clients anymore. But I say I'll always be a hairdresser. So I
love
think
it.
there's that common myth around what you do. I've just been I say grateful and I say blessed a lot. I do use
Yeah.
those words a lot, but
Yeah.
obviously it all happened because of hard work. But I've had a phenomenal career and continue to
Mm-hmm.
have a phenomenal career, of course. But being a hairdresser, being an artist, being an educator, I've been a hair director at Fashion Week. I've had front covers of magazines all around the world. I've shot incredible campaigns. I've done keynote speaking, from a business perspective. And then I say I've also gone into product development, brand development, team development, the corporate side, the leadership side, etc. So wow, lot of growth there.
Mm.
And I still feel like a spring chicken, to be honest.
I
I still
love it. Just getting started.
just getting started, and like seriously sit tight because there's going to be some good exciting things happening in 2027 next year.
I love it.
But obviously I'm not going to share that now, no matter
No,
what questions you ask me.
I will not. I will not spoil it. Not
No,
my style.
exactly. Maybe we just have another chat again next year
Maybe.
and we can see where that evolution has gone. But
Yes, that would be great.
I'm going to do that. I think it's going to be quite cool next year as well. So that's in the pipeline too. So yeah, look, I
Love it.
just think we're in an incredible industry, and I think it's very unique and very supportive. And I love the fact that hairdressers support each other. Ultimately,
Mm.
what we need to do is stay together as a community because that's what's going to give us sustainability in our industry.
Yes, exactly. I feel like there's maybe it's just my experience. That we talk about it a lot, but then we don't put our money where our mouth is.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's support each other. And then it falls. And you're like, oh, okay.
I think
Not
it's
good.
hard. I think it's hard because the industry is fragmented as well now
Yeah.
with salon ownership, freelancers, companies. Some companies are struggling, etc. Some
Yeah.
are thriving. It's very fragmented, but I think we need to bring the community back together,
Yeah.
and the only way to do that is education, of course.
Yes.
And that's the key to keeping the community together, and that's the key to keeping the standards, the craftsmanship, and I say that's sustainability for future generations. I'd love to see more people that are coming into the industry having a voice for the industry as well. There's a lot
Mm.
of icons out there that are still very vocal, that share their stories. But, and again, there's a lot of influencers. And
Yeah.
I mean, I love that with leading ladies. I brought icons and influencers together.
Yes, you
But
did.
it's always got to be about the next generation coming through. So, I think anyone that's just starting out on their journey, find a mentor,
Yeah.
learn from them, absorb from them, and find a way to have a voice yourself.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So, really quickly,
Sure.
we went through a lot, I
You
feel.
did. I know. I'm like, this has been probably the most personal podcast I've done in a long time. So thank you, Christine. I say I do love your authenticity. It's incredible.
You're so welcome. I love hearing that.
Pretty awesome, I must say, girl. You are amazing.
Thank you. So, what is a question that I did not ask that you wish I would have? And how would you have answered?
Ooh, question what you would have asked and how would have I answered? Look, I think we covered most of it, especially from a personal and a professional side. Um, yeah, I think, we did touch on the dogs at the end, so I'm happy about that. That's
Yes.
probably the thing I want to say. I always like my doggies to have a little shining moment of glory for themselves. So we did touch on that at the end anyway. But look, your questions were amazing. I say, and I love the fact that you're spontaneous with your questions, and obviously none of this was planned. So I think you did an amazing job.
Thank you so much, Tracy. And thank you for being on the Beauty Pro podcast and letting yourself be vulnerable. I feel like that is more inspirational than just sitting for hours and talking on a podcast, like what's that guy's name? Joe Rogan. Everybody loves Joe Rogan, but he talks a
Yeah.
little too much. So thank you for being on here.
You're most welcome. I've loved every single moment of this. And I say thank you to you and thank you to your listeners and your audience as well.
Everybody watching and listening, be sure to check out the show notes. We're going to have links to Tracy and all her socials and the company that she's working for. So make sure you check it out. Until next time.
Certainly will. Thank you.